Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you on Game On. I'm Meha Bhardwaj Alter. The Indian team, after beating Afghanistan, have landed in Ahmedabad. And in some positive news, Shubman Gill, who stayed back in Chennai due to dengue, he's also joined the team in Ahmedabad ahead of the big match against Pakistan this Saturday. Whether he is going to play that game, that right now, of course, there is no clarity on that. In all probability, in fact, he'll be missing that game. But the good news is that he has joined the team. Remember, he didn't travel to Delhi for the last game against Afghanistan. So we'll get you all the latest from the Indian camp. But before that, there is a game on between Australia and South Africa at the Ekana Stadium in Lucknow, where Quinton de Kock has hit his second consecutive century of this World Cup on what is a much better pitch than the one that IPL was played on. Jamie Alter is here with us. Chetan Nirula will also join us. Guys, the way Quinton de Kock is batting, he might change his mind about quitting one day as Jamie. I mean, this is the same man who got his last century before the one in the World Cup 20 months ago and 18 innings ago, and then said that, look, World Cup and ODI is too tiring for me. But it doesn't look like it's, I mean, this is a format that he seems to really relish.
Oh, no doubt. He's in T20I cricket as well as in various leagues. But the first time I saw him, and he'd just broken into his Indian team, or South African team. I think against India, he got a couple hundreds in the span of a year or something. I can't remember the year. 10 years ago, whatever it was. But he just looked like such a refreshing player. I'm not going to judge him for saying that he's done with ODIs and that he's retired from Test cricket. He has his priorities. He's been someone who's taken some controversial calls. And he feels that, right now where his body's at, where his career is at, he wants to focus on T20 leagues, and that's fine. It's fantastic from a South African perspective that someone who's been a bit inconsistent has now got 200s back-to-back. Where South Africa end up and how many runs de Kock ends up with is anyone's guess. But good signs right now that South Africa's batting order is consistently putting up big totals. We just saw them beat Australia. In fact, I think they came back from 2 down to win a series at home against South Africa, against Australia. Now they put up 428. De Kock's got 200. But I don't know. We're just discussing somewhere else, Chetan and I. I don't know whether how the mood will be if South Africa don't defend 311, because the juncture at which de Kock got out could end up being somewhat pivotal 3.5, 4 hours from now.
Okay, we're going to discuss that as well. Is 311 enough for South Africa? So let's take you back and look at the first innings. Australia won the toss. They chose to field first against South Africa on a relayed pitch in Lucknow, which played a whole lot better than it did during the IPL. The Proteas openers, Quinton de Kock and Temba Bavuma, took time to get going against the Australian new ball attack. But unlike Bavuma, who struggled to find fluency, de Kock soon found his timing as he flicked Stark for a 6 before doing the same against Josh Hazlewood. Bavuma, despite getting 3 lives, was dismissed for 35 of 55 deliveries by Glenn Maxwell. But South Africa carried on, led by de Kock, who scored his 19th ODI 100 with a hook of Pat Cummins. While Australian fast bowlers, especially Pat Cummins, had an off day, Glenn Maxwell got the breakthrough they needed as he put an end to de Kock's innings. 109 of 106 deliveries. He hit 8 fours and 5 sixes in his innings, and even after he was gone, South Africa looked good to get a big total. The fastest ever centurion from the earlier game in the World Cup, Aiden Markram, got to his half century in 41 balls. That included hitting Adam Zampa for 3 fours and an over. So Maxwell in the end turned out to be the pick of the bowlers for Australia, getting 2 for 34. Pat Cummins was the most expensive, returning with 1 for 71 in his 10 overs. But Australia would be happy in the way they pull things back towards the end, because at one point, it's interesting, given how South Africa were going, Chetan, you would think that they would have got more than 311. So in that way, Australia would be slightly happy, slightly pleased with themselves in the way they pull things back. But having said that, 311 for 7 on that pitch, do you think South Africa would say, you know what, we've done the job well enough?
Yes and no. I think the answer is not very, very straightforward here, Meha, because the first half of the innings, when the ball was really coming onto the bat, South Africa were going really great guns, and it seemed like they would easily cross 350, especially when Quinton de Kock was batting, and then Markram and Klaassen were batting. So it looked like South Africa would easily get 350. But something happened in the second half of the innings where the pitch started slowing down a bit. The ball was not really coming onto the bat after the 35th over very, very easily. When it went softer, when both the balls from both ends went softer, it seemed like, it wasn't really coming onto the bat very, very easily. Is that going to happen in the second innings as well? Or with dew around or under lights, that would not change? That remains to be seen. If it doesn't change, then Australia will back themselves to chase this down. Because 350 to 311, I think Australia will be very, very happy. South Africa will think of it as an opportunity missed because of the position they were in. But at the same time, something just tells me that this pitch is going to slow down in the second innings. And yes, Australia have done a fabulous job in restricting South Africa. The 311 is going to be, a challenging total for Australia to chase down.
I think Australia are in trouble. Will they be able to chase down 312? That's the question that we're asking you. Do you think the conditions are likely to change here? Will dew play a role? These are all things that I think at this point, even in the dressing room, the Australian camp would be discussing this. But South Africa, how good have they been, Jamie? Yes, I know that Australia pulled things back. But having said that, the kind of platform that de Kock laid. And then on top of that, Aiden Markram, how good has he been? Today, yes, he couldn't get to a bigger score. But what I was reading, 9 innings, he's got like 5 or 6 50s in ODIs.
Look, I said this elsewhere, and I know that people will be like, well, South Africa have had Kirstens and Callises and Andrew Hudson and De Villiers and Faf, many, many players. But somehow what those legends of the game couldn't do is something that I think this South African team still might do. That is consistently put up totals which they're bowling. And let's face it, it's not the best bowling attack going around, but it's still a good one. Totals that this team can work with, because what they've done is maybe it's intentional, maybe it's totally unintentional. Who knows what has got them here? But de Kock, no need to discuss de Kock. We've already discussed he has 200s. But Temba Bavuma came into this World Cup averaging in excess of 70. He's got 300s this year. They're all match-winning hundreds. Rassie van der Dusen today became what? The second fastest to 2,000 runs or joint fastest, something like that. Markram, since he was relieved of the captaincy, since he's gone through a bit of a reshuffle in his career, has put up outstanding numbers. Heinrich Klaassen is the best finisher going around in one-day cricket these days. You have someone like David Miller. It's taken him a long point to get here, but he has revamped numbers. So they have a terrific, if not the best, top 6 or 7. Look at what Marco Jansen does every 3-4 matches. So it's a terrific batting lineup. I think the bowling is somewhat suspect still, but just look what happened right now, right? They were on track for 350, which became 320. Like Chetan said, I'm not going to debate that. I think 312 is not by any stretch going to be easy for this very brittle Australian lineup. I think I said it in the preview show, Tabraiz Shamsi's 10 overs are going to be massive here. I think Keshav Maharaj plays that Ravindra Jadeja holding role.
Yeah.
But look at how it ended up, right? Did Australia restrict them? Because the 49th over, Meha, Maxwell misfields the ball through his legs, He shouldn't be doing that. 2 drop catches and then a top edge. So it looked like Australia were on track. I would say with Miller at the crease, 330. Is there any bowler who can bowl a double maiden wicket in the last over other than Mitchell Starc? On a terrific day, Jasprit Bumrah, yes. But this is what Australian teams do. While I'm not saying that over has made the difference between victory and defeat, it has definitely sent a very ragged, a very sloppy Australian team into the Lucknow Stadium dressing room with some positive, right? 312, definitely more achievable than the 335, maybe 340 that was on course when David Miller and Marco Jansen were doing so well. So it probably won't be enough to win the match, but it's that if you can rock up in the face of adversity and bowl a double wicket maiden in conditions stacked against you, when you yourself drop the catch, something says, I think, like I said earlier, this could be the first real cracker of the World Cup.
But that's the other thing, right? You don't expect Australia to be, dropping catches and be involved in misfields, Chetan. I think there were 5 to 6 misfields that today, dropped catches. Temba Bavuma wanted to get out, but Australia just wanted him in the middle because he got, I think, 3 to 4 lives. I don't know. it just didn't look like the five-time world champion team. Yeah, this is an Australian side that prides itself in the way they are on the field. Did you get that as well? I mean, so it is sloppy fielding. Their bowlers weren't impressive other than Maxwell. Adam Zampa, these were conditions, you know, I wouldn't say they were as spin friendly as what one would have expected. But having said that, you know that Adam Zampa would have done better as well. So all in all, collectively, their bowling just had an off day.
Bowling and fielding, and it's, the fielding has had the second off day, I would say, because if you remember the Chennai game, they dropped a catch. They dropped a catch and the game turned.
That
I mean, it was Virat
everything.
Kohli's catch. Yeah, absolutely. It was the turning point in that particular game. Australia would have won if that catch had been held. So this is not the Australia that we have come to know. You know, this is the third aspect of cricket. There's batting, there's bowling, fielding. Fielding, Australia is always on the money. You know they will save those 10, 20 runs thanks to their fielding alone. But something hasn't really clicked for this Australian side, and it happens. It happens when the other two facets of your game are not doing well. I mean, the batting is not really clicking. The bowling is finding it tough in these conditions. Yes, on the one hand, we can say that these conditions aren't really conducive for Adam Zampa. But at the other hand, you look at Glenn Maxwell, he's taken 10 overs, 2 for 30.
34 runs
2
and
for
2
34.
wickets.
And he's not given away a single boundary.
Yeah.
He's not given away a single boundary. He was bowling when Quinton de Kock was at the crease, when Markram was at the crease, when Klaasen was at the crease. That was a superb spell from Glenn Maxwell. So at the same time, Glenn Maxwell is excelling in his second spinner, part-time off spinner role. But Zampa, he's not delivering the goods at the moment. So I believe that Australia at the moment is a sum of very good individuals. They're not really gelling as a team. It's a team that's not doing well in terms of batting, in terms of bowling. And that is starting to impact their fielding, which is the third facet of cricket, obviously. So not the Australian team we know, but, all it takes for them to, get that one bit of spark and they'll come back roaring in. And my thinking is if they win this game, it will be because of, like Jamie said, not many bowlers can deliver those final overs. Somebody like a Jasprit Bumrah can, a Mitchell Starc can.
Yeah.
And it's because of those final overs, they might just find that spark and it turns around things for the Australian side.
Okay, so Australian side, sloppy fielding, off with their bowling. Jamie, do you see South Africa bowlers doing better, especially their spinners? Are you expecting more from them? They've already gone in with an extra spinner in Tabraiz Shamshi. Are you seeing Keshav Maharaj, the duo of Keshav Maharaj and Shamshi, making that difference, making it difficult for Australia in the second innings?
I want to say yes. Look, there's going to be Dew and again, Adam Zampa, the wrist spinner. If he's struggling for control, if he's struggling to make an impact, you can assume that there will be a level of difficulty for Tabraiz Shamsi. But somehow I think the fact that South Africa have crossed the 300 margin, and that's always a psychological advantage, that coupled by the very obvious weaknesses in this Australian team, it does lead me to believe that yes, right now, 65, Chetan said, in favor of South Africa. I think that that's an accurate assumption of where we are right now. Australia, look, they've struggled in India. Okay, there's a different team that played these 3 one-days. They've struggled there. They squandered the advantage in South Africa a couple of weeks ago. India, again, different track, but India have the skill. I'm saying very obvious weaknesses in this Australian batting. But like we just discussed, if this match does turn out to be a victory for them, people are going to be wondering, okay, what is the turnaround? Because if Glenn Maxwell is your best spinner, there's clear problems. If you got Smith and Labuschagne batting back-to-back, I think we discussed it before, that's a problem. No point discussing Travis Head because he's not around and he probably won't be for 3-4 matches. Given the personnel, given the obvious weaknesses we've discussed, if Australia can pull off this chase of 312, World Cup open once again.
So then that's the other thing I'm going to ask you, Chetan. What about if they're not able to do it? How big a trouble are Australia going to be in?
Huge.
2 weeks ago, I heard that. 2 weeks ago, I sat on this show and I said, Australia are my favorites for the World Cup. I'm looking like a fool now, am I not? This is what the game is all about, right? My humble opinion. Look, this is what sport does, right? It's a five-time champions on paper. I mean, on paper, look at those names. These are players, like Pat Cummins said before the India game, they've been playing white ball cricket more in India than in Australia for the last 10 years. And it's true from his first choice 11, I think it's true for at least 8 or 9 players. And suddenly they're not gelling well. It's not working out. And again, the thing is, are we reading too much into it? Because it's just been 1.5 matches. It's just the second match Australia are playing. We're discussing whether it's clicking for them, whether it's not clicking for them. Let's be honest, they played in tough conditions. They played in the toughest conditions in this World Cup so far. I mean, you look at England, they had flat tracks. They didn't perform well, then they performed well. New Zealand, they've had good tracks. They've had a weaker second opposition. Pakistan, one weak opposition, one good, decent opposition. They did well. Similarly, South Africa, against Sri Lanka, one decent opposition. They did really well. India, the same story. One tough opposition, one decent opposition, different in, different pitches. Australia have got 2 on the run tough oppositions, India and South Africa. 2 very tough conditions, which, their team doesn't really do well in. So I think we are judging them a little too quickly. What happens if they don't win?
Yeah.
I think that just opens up the World Cup. I was thinking when England lost to New Zealand, Pakistan, South Africa, New Zealand, they'll be like, oh my God, eyes wide open. That's your chance to get your 4th semi-final spot. So, Australia lose here and South Africa will be like, okay, we've got one hand in. They've beaten Sri Lanka, they've beaten Australia. They can beat Bangladesh, they can beat, Netherlands. They can beat Afghanistan. That's 10 points for you. You're halfway there to the semi-final. So South Africa will be very happy. Australia, it opens up the World Cup. An Australian loss opens up the World Cup here.
But we know what Australia can do, what Australia have done in the past, what Australia have done against this team. I mean, that choker stack started with that 1999, right, Jamie? World Cup. So what are you expecting Australia to do as they come out? Of course, I think a lot of dependence would be on David Warner, who's been scoring runs for them, along with Steve Smith, because we know that their middle order has been a problem for them in the recent times. What will Australia look to do when they come out?
They're going to need Mitchell Marsh to have a massive match, okay? Taking nothing away from David Warner. He's the master of the chase. That's fine. But you need, again, this might come out wrong. You need Smith and Labuschagne facing the least number of deliveries, Yes, they're individually, they can win matches. Labuschagne came back out of the blue and won 2 matches in a row against South Africa. But somehow I just feel if they depend more on these guys, they have more chances of getting stuck in. Brilliant players of spin, but they're not in peak one-day form. Labuschagne might well go on to become a very good one-day player. Steven Smith has clearly passed his prime. He's an anchor, but I feel they don't need 2 anchors because on a day like this, you have a terrific anchor. You have the template of anchoring in these conditions in David Warner. Do you need 2 more? No. You need Josh English doing something funky. You need Marcus Stoinis using 2 years of Lucknow Super Giant experience to come out and do something. It's too much to expect Glenn Maxwell. Glenn Maxwell is a lottery. On his day, brilliant. On other day, यार ये टीम में क्या कर रहा है? So they need. That's why I look at Mitchell Marsh as someone who's got. He's their Chahar. He's their Washington Sundar. He's their Shreyas Iyer. But when he clicks, my gosh, we've seen it twice this year. He can do amazing things. If he gets out early, just like he failed against Jasprit Bumrah, then to my mind, South Africa will jump from 65 to 95, 98. Because I expect David Warner to do well, but I just somehow feel if you put too much on Smith and Labuschagne, they're more likely to play some dinky reverse sweep and give it away like De Kock did. You need that guy, Mitchell Marsh, at least getting you 80 on the board in the first 10. Then I would say we're going to go towards that thriller. Get Marsh.
Okay.
And I see a one-sided match there onwards.
Okay. We've got to move on now because the Indian cricket team landed in Ahmedabad, where Chetan is. They were at the Ahmedabad airport today for the highly anticipated India-Pakistan World Cup match scheduled to be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium on 14th of October. The Pakistan cricket team had earlier arrived in the city on Wednesday, and the administration has put up strict security measures in and around the team hotel located in the heart of the city. The Indian team, including Captain Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Shreyas Iyer, Ishan Kishan, Hardik Pandya, Ravindra Jadeja, Kuldeep Yadav, Mohammad Siraj, Bumrah and other players, they touched down at the airport. And of course, as we will see throughout this World Cup, and we're already seeing when it comes to the Indian team, enthusiastic cricket fans eagerly sought photos and autographs from their favourite players. People assemble around the hotel in hopes of getting a glimpse of the team. With the two teams set to face each other on Indian soil after 7 years, nearly all hotels and guest houses have been sold out at the time, with over 40,000 out-of-station fans expected in the city. What's more, security has been beefed up. 11,000 extra personnel. They are going to be there, and this is going to be the biggest match in the group stages for the two teams. India versus Pakistan. We know that players will feel the pressure. We know that the tickets for this have been sold out. I tried to get tickets. I could not get any tickets for this. So this is going to be the big match. Chetan Narula is there. Chetan, what's the vibe like? I know it's a little too early right now, little too early, but I'm sure you've had some conversations maybe with the hotel staff and what they are expecting. So what's that excitement building around in the city?
It's never too early for India-Pakistan, Meha. It's never too early. On my flight, we had loads of journalists who were covering yesterday's game, India-Afghanistan. But we also had fans. We had a lot of representatives of the Bharat Army who are here from England. So I spotted around 10 of them on our flight. So they've already arrived in Ahmedabad, and obviously they'll be making their way to the stadium tomorrow to cheer on the teams, while they're practicing. Shubman Gill has obviously already arrived earlier this morning as well. And when I arrived, obviously, like you said, the security has been beefed up. So you just notice that as you enter the city, or, even just move around the city a bit. I went for a walk, and you just feel that there is a bit of anticipation in the air, even as people go around their businesses and their jobs. And when I had checked in for the hotel, I asked them, what's the availability like? And they're like, no, we are properly sold out. Like totally sold out. And this is not even, the poshest hotels, because I couldn't find any of the posh hotels for this particular game.
How far are you from the stadium?
15 minutes drive by cab. So it's not too far off. But again, it's not like a Taj or a Hyatt hotel here, but it's on the lower end of the spectrum. But again, it's sold out. So you can imagine those are sold out. We have the sponsors flying in. We have the BCCI entire brigade flying in. I'm told there's going to be a dance ceremony, a song and dance ceremony before the India-Pakistan game. So that's new. I'm told Amitabh Bachchan is coming for this particular game. And the opening ceremony that we didn't really have. I think we're going to get some sort of, shindig ahead of this game. But more than that, 100,000 fans, absolutely chock-a-block. There'll be no complaints about empty stadium on Saturday. No complaints.
We're still not clear on what was the actual count, because I'm told it was 47,000. You said 25. Somebody else in the press box said 35.
No. I said in the preview that I expect 25,000. The count was official count was 47. So you take 10% off that. So you can say around 35 to 40,000 did show up. No, definitely 35 to 40,000 did show up. There were a lot of people walking around. When the sun was out. We will see that again, because the sun can get pretty intense here. So there'll be a lot of people who will be walking around. So only in the evening will we see the 100,000 really seated, even on Saturday.
Okay. Now, like Chetan was mentioning, good news is that Shubman Gill, he was fit enough to take a flight to join the team in Ahmedabad. Former Indian cricketer Yuvraj Singh is hopeful that Shubman Gill will recover in time and will be ready for that clash between India and Pakistan at the Narendra Modi Stadium. Gill missed the team's 2 World Cup games after he was down with dengue. Now, Yuvraj, if you all remember, played in the 2011 World Cup while battling cancer. He shared his experience and said it's really tough to play a cricket match when you're down with a fever, but you can do it since he did. Listen to what he had to say.
शुभमन गिल को मैंने तगड़ा कर दिया है. मैंने उसको बोला कि देख, मैं 2 मैच डेंगू में खेला हूँ और मैं कैंसर में भी वर्ल्ड कप खेला हूँ, तो तू रेडी हो जा. So hopefully he'll be ready for the game. And see, when you have fever or dengue, it's very tough to play a cricket match. I have experienced that. So मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ कि अगर फिट हैं तो ज़रूर खेलें.
There's a lot to admire about Yuvraj Singh, and there's, he was the man of the tournament for India in that win, 2011 World Cup win. This is what he had to say about their arch rivals, Pakistan, and how India and Pakistan both are in great form going into this match. So this is what he's expecting from this game.
अच्छी बात है जी. इंडिया के लिए इंडिया पाकिस्तान का मैच हो रहा है इतने सालों बाद. बड़ी एक्साइटमेंट है और 1 लाख से भी ज़्यादा लोग इस मैच को देखने वाले हैं और उम्मीद करते हैं इंडिया जीते, क्योंकि ये मैं लड़कों को भी बोलता हूँ कि ये टाइम वापस नहीं आने वाला और ये बहुत बड़ा स्टेज है, इसे एंजॉय करें. बट यही मैच नहीं है सिर्फ, इसके बाद और भी मैचेस हैं, तो उम्मीद करते हैं कि बड़ा अच्छा मैच होगा. या बट आई थिंक रिजवान इज इन ग्रेट फॉर्म. Yeah, I think both teams have had an outstanding game, especially for Pakistan. They've chased 300 plus score against Sri Lanka. That's a big thing. So it'll give them a lot of confidence. India is already confident because they beat Australia, and Afghanistan was, as you said, brilliant 100 from Rohit Sharma. So I think at the moment both teams are high on confidence, and it should be a cracker of a game.
For the ones who are playing the World Cup for the first time, Jamie, this is when they will realize what it's like, right? Playing Pakistan in a World Cup game in India. So in that sense, huge moment for some of these players.
Hearing Yuvraj speak and just listening to your question against that same backdrop, can you imagine what it would have been like for Shubman Gill, who's the leading run getter this year, to play this match? We all know he's not going to play the match. But with his form, his success, how much of his success has come at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad? I mean, a big factor in where he is as a white ball player this year,
Yeah.
So that's a big loss. But there are others. Ishan Kishan is playing Pakistan in a World Cup for the first time. Shreyas Iyer, So there's a lot of emotions there, and on top of that, like Chetan's been saying, 1,20,000 is the official seating capacity. I mean, just can you imagine the one-sided tone that stadium is going to wear all throughout the day? Outstanding occasion. The track. I'm really keen to see how the track plays. Let's keep that discussion for a proper preview show. Yeah. But all in all, for players on both sides, it is the mother of all clashes, if I can use that cliche once again.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Completely out of time. Thank you so much. Quick one word: South Africa or Australia? To both, I'm asking you. Chetan?
Australia.
Jamie?
Australia.
Okay, with that, we'll wrap this up. By the end, they both said Australia after saying how good South Africa were. But this is what Australia do in World Cups. That's the kind of faith people have in them. Okay, that's it on this show. Newsline Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
He got